The Cardinals turned Wrigley Field into a batting cage with a stunning 17-1 demolition of the Cubs, headlining a jam-packed 4th of July Eve slate across the majors. The Cardinals put on an offensive clinic in a 17-1 rout of the Cubs at Wrigley Field. Louis got home runs from 3 different hitters: Brian Torres, Nathan Church, and Masson Wynn all left the yard, while the lineup ran roughshod over Chicago's pitching staff from top to bottom. Blaze Jordan went 3 for 5, and Ivan Herrera was right behind him at 3 for 4 with 2 RBI. Part of a Cardinals attack that saw nearly every regular reach base. On the mound, Andre Palante was outstanding in the win, firing 5.2 shutout innings with 2 strikeouts to set the tone early and give his offense all the cushion it would need. The Cubs, meanwhile, managed just a single run and got scattered hits from Alex Bregman, Pedro Ramires, Michael Busch, Carson Kelly, Pete Crow Armstrong, and Nico Hoerner, but could never put together the kind of rally that would make this one competitive. It was a laugher from start to finish and the most lopsided score of the day anywhere in baseball. A total team effort from St. Louis against a Cubs club that simply had no answers. Nationals outslugged the Pirates 9-5 in a home run derby at Nationals Park. Washington got the long ball from 3 different hitters, with Dalen Lyle crushing 2 home runs and driving in 4 runs on a 3 for 4 night, and Luis Garcia Jr. also going deep twice. Jose Tina chipped in a solo shot as well, giving the Nationals 3 multi-homer contributors in the same game. Both Lyle and Garcia Jr. finished with 2 homer nights that stand out as prime fantasy streaming performances. Pittsburgh didn't go quietly, getting a home run from Brian Reynolds and a 3 for 5, 1 RBI effort from Esmeralyn Valdez, but the Pirates' running game couldn't make up the difference, even with Jake Mangum swiping 2 bags and Jared Triolo and Connor Griffin each adding a steal. C.J. Abrams stole a base for Washington too, adding some speed to the power show. Foster Griffin picked up the win for the Nationals, working 5 innings and allowing just 1 earned run with 2 strikeouts to hold off Pittsburgh's response and secure the 4-run victory. runs. Cole was sharp in the win, striking out 7 over 5 innings while allowing just 2 earned runs, and David Bednar slammed the door with a clean 1-inning save to close it out. Ben Rice and Trent Grisham both went deep for New York to power the offense, while Jose Caballero and Jason Dominguez each added a stolen base to keep the Twins' defense honest. Minnesota's lone bright spot came from Cody Clemens, who went yard for the Twins' only extra base damage of the night. It was a well-rounded win for New York, with the pitching staff doing the heavy lifting and just enough thump in the lineup to make it stand up, extending a solid stretch at home for the Yankees against a Twins club that never found a consistent answer against Cole's stuff. Trevor Rogers and the Orioles blanked the Reds 3-0 in Cincinnati, with Rogers striking out 4 over 5 shutout innings to earn the win and Tyler Wells slamming the door with a 1-inning save. Samuel Basallo provided the only home run of the game to give Baltimore some breathing room, while the Orioles also ran the bases well, with Gunnar Henderson and Taylor Ward each stealing a bag. Cincinnati's best chance to spark something came on the bases. Ellie De La Cruz swiped 2 bags in the loss, but the Reds simply couldn't scratch across a run against Baltimore's pitching. It was a quiet night at the plate for Cincinnati across the board, with Noelvi Marte, Spencer Steer, and J.J. Bleday managing hits, but no one able to string together the offense needed to get on the board. A clean, efficient pitching performance carried the Orioles to the shutout on the road. The Guardians edged the White Sox 4-3 in a tight, low-key affair at Progressive Field. Cleveland got the decisive push from its bullpen, with Eric Sabrowski picking up the win after a clean inning of relief work, striking out 2 without allowing a run. Miguel Vargas supplied the lone home run of the game for Chicago, but it wasn't enough to overcome Cleveland's balanced attack, which saw hits spread across the lineup from Paulo Watson, Austin Hedges, Travis Bazzana, Brian Rocchio, and Stephen Kwan. The White Sox got contact from Jacob Gonzalez, Tristan Peters, Chase Maydroth, and Braden Montgomery, but couldn't quite close the gap in a game that came down to the final innings. There were no big individual stat lines to speak of here, just a close, competitive game that Cleveland found a way to win by a single run at home. The Braves out-homered the Mets 5-3 at Truist Park, behind a 3-homer night from their lineup. Matt Olson led the way with 2 home runs, while Michael Harris Roman 2 and Ozzy Albies each added solo shots to stake it landed to the lead. Olson's 2-homer night makes him a name fantasy managers should be watching after this showing. Grant Holmes was efficient in the win, allowing just 1 earned run over 5 innings with 2 strikeouts, and Raisel Egoges slammed the door with a 1-inning save. New York didn't go down easily, with Juan Soto answering with a home run of his own and getting hits from Bo Bichette, Francisco Alvarez, Brett Beatty, Carson Bench, Francisco Lindor, and Luis Torrens. But the Mets offense couldn't keep pace with Atlanta's power surge, and the Braves' bullpen made sure the late lead held up for the 2-run win. The Rockies blew the doors off the Giants 15-3 at Coors Field in one of the most complete performances of the day. Jake McCarthy homered twice and drove in 6 runs on a 4-for-5 night, while Ezequiel Tovar added his own home run and went 3-for-4 with 3 RBI. McCarthy's 2-homer, 6 RBI explosion is exactly the kind of streaming-worthy line fantasy managers look for. Kyle Carros chipped in a 3-for-4 game as well, and both McCarthy and Carros stole a base apiece as Colorado ran wild on both sides of the ball. Ryan Feltner was every bit as dominant on the mound, striking out 9 over 6 innings to pick up the win, and Gabriel Hughes covered 3 innings to lock down the save. Rafael Devers provided San Francisco's only real highlight with a solo home run, and Casey Schmidt, Heliot Ramos, Yun-Hoo Lee, Luis Ariz, and Bryce Eldridge all pick up hits. But the Giants had no answer for a Rockies team that was clicking on every cylinder in a laugher at altitude. The Rays held off the Astros 3-1 in a home run-heavy pitchers duel at Minute Maid Park. Yordan Alvarez gave Houston its only run with a solo home run, but Tampa Bay answered with long balls from Nick Fortes and Junior Caminero to take control. Kevin Kelly picked up the win in relief, working 1.2 scoreless innings, and Brian Baker closed it out with a 1-inning save. Taylor Walls added a stolen base for the Rays as they controlled the bases throughout. Houston's offense was mostly held in check outside of the Alvarez blast, with Isaac Perez and Cam Smith managing the only other hits for the Astros. It was a tightly played game decided by the long ball, with Tampa Bay's power proving to be just enough to escape Houston with the road win. The Brewers used a balanced offensive attack to beat the Diamondbacks 7-4 in the desert. Garrett Mitchell provided the game's only home run, but Milwaukee did its damage with a barrage of extra base hits as Bryce Durang went 3-for-6 with 2 RBI and Jake Bauers matched him at 3-for-6 with an RBI of his own. Grant Anderson picked up the win out of the bullpen, tossing 2 scoreless innings, while Cooper Pratt swiped a bag to help set the tone for Milwaukee's running game. Arizona's Ildemaro Vargas had a strong night too, going 3-for-5 with an RBI, and both Tommy Troy and Kettle Mart stole bases in the loss. It was a back-and-forth affair that Milwaukee's deeper lineup ultimately pulled away to win, with contributions up and down the order rather than one standout performance. The Marlins put on a power display in a 12-5 win over the Athletics, blasting 5 home runs as a team. Kyle Stowers was the headliner, going 4-for-5 with 3 RBI and 2 home runs, a 2-homer game that makes him a name fantasy managers should be circling on the wire. Heriberto Hernandez, Jacob Marcy, and Owen Casey all added solo shots of their own, giving Miami a wave of power that buried Oakland early. Blake Bakar picked up the win in relief, and Esteury Ruiz and Otto Lopez each stole a base to round out Miami's complete performance. Nick Kurtz answered with a home run for the Athletics, and Jack Perkins was electric on the mound with 8 strikeouts over 3.2 innings. But even that gem wasn't enough to slow down a Marlins lineup that simply had too much firepower on the night. Shohei Ohtani was dazzling on the mound as the Dodgers edged the Padres 4-3 at Dodger Stadium. Ohtani struck out 9 over 6 innings, setting the stage for a late bullpen finish, with Kyle Hurt picking up the win in relief and Tanner Scott locking things down with a 1-inning save. Teoscar Hernandez provided the power for Los Angeles with a home run, while Dalton Rushing, Max Muncy, Freddie Freeman, and Miguel Rojas all chipped in with hits to build the offense around Ohtani's dominant start. San Diego stayed in it behind a Jackson Merrill home run and hits from Rodolfo Duran, Sung-Min Song, Gavin Sheets, Xander Bogaerts, and Jake Cronenworth, with Song also swiping a bag. But the Padres couldn't complete the comeback, falling by a single run in a game defined by Ohtani's strikeout stuff and a clutch late bullpen for Los Angeles. Dylan Cease threw a gem to lead the Blue Jays past the Mariners 2-0 in Seattle, striking out 9 over 7 shutout innings to pick up the win, with Louis Varland closing it out with a 1-inning save. Toronto didn't need much offense behind that kind of pitching performance, getting hits from Andrés Giménez, Yohandrick Pinango, Sean Keyes, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and Kazuma Okamoto to scratch across just enough runs. Seattle's lineup managed hits from Victor Robles, Cole Young, J.P. Crawford, and Dominic Hanzon, but couldn't solve Cease's stuff and were shot out at home. There were no home runs in this one, just a dominant pitching performance carrying the day, with Cease's near-complete game effort standing out as the best individual pitching line of the night. The Red Sox topped the Angels 5-2 in Anaheim behind a strong start from Jake Bennett, who worked 7.2 innings and allowed just 2 earned runs with 6 strikeouts to pick up the win, with Aroldis Chapman closing it out with a 1-inning save. Romy Gonzalez was the offensive standout for Boston, going 3 for 4 with 2 RBI, and Caleb Durbin added a home run to help build the cushion. Cedric Rafaela chipped in a stolen base as well. Jose Siri answered for the Angels with a home run of his own, and Zach Neto, Jorge Soler, Vaughn Grissom, and Josh Lowe all picked up hits, but Los Angeles couldn't generate enough behind Bennett's near-complete game effort. It was a well-pitched win for Boston, capped by a strong bullpen finish from Chapman. No qualifying hit streaks or team win/lost streaks were flagged in today's data, making it a quiet day on the streak watch front. Keep an eye on tomorrow's slate for fresh momentum building across the league as several teams look to string together wins. It was a huge day for power at the plate, with 5 different 2-homer performances to stream off the wire. Dalen Lyle and Luis Garcia Jr. both went deep twice in Washington's win, while Matt Olson matched them with a 2-homer night in Atlanta. Jake McCarthy stole the show with 2 homers and 6 RBI in Colorado's blowout, and Kyle Stowers added 2 homers and 3 RBI in Miami's road win over Oakland. Any of these bats are worth a look for fantasy managers needing a spark this week. That's a wrap on today's action. Hit subscribe so you never miss a recap of the biggest moments from around the majors.